Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my other socials for more. Enjoy. Jenny made her way down the sterile hospital corridor. Her footsteps echoed in the quiet of the night shift, the occasional beep of medical equipment punctuating the silence. She stifled a yawn, running a hand through her chestnut hair as she approached the nurse's station. Another long night ahead, she murmured to herself, settling into the chair behind the desk. Jenny hadn't planned on working tonight, but her colleague Maria had called in sick at the last minute. As the head nurse, Jenny felt a responsibility to cover the shift herself rather than scrambling to find someone else on such short notice. It meant missing a quiet evening at home with her husband, Dariel, but duty called. She pulled up the patient charts on the computer, scanning through the names and conditions of those under her care for the night. The emergency room had been quiet so far, which was always a good sign. Jenny hoped it would stay that way, allowing her to catch up on some paperwork during the lull. As the hours ticked by, Jenny made her rounds, checking on patients and administering medications as needed. She chatted softly with an elderly woman who couldn't sleep, offering words of comfort and a gentle pat on the hand. It was moments like these that reminded Jenny why she had chosen nursing as a career, the ability to provide care and compassion to those in need. The sky outside the windows began to lighten as dawn approached. Jenny felt the familiar weariness settling into her bones, her body protesting the disruption to its normal sleep schedule. She looked forward to crawling into bed when she got home, even if it meant only a few hours of rest before tackling the day ahead. As her shift came to an end, Jenny gathered her things and bid farewell to the day staff arriving to take over. The crisp morning air felt refreshing after hours in the climate-controlled hospital environment. She climbed into her car, eager to get home to Dariel. The house was quiet when Jenny pulled into the driveway. She assumed Dariel was still asleep, as he often slept in on weekends. Quietly, she let herself in and made her way to the bedroom, shedding her scrubs as she went. Jenny paused in the doorway, frowning slightly when she saw the empty bed. Perhaps Dariel had gotten an early start on some yard work he'd been talking about. She changed into comfortable pajamas and settled under the covers, deciding to catch a few hours of sleep before investigating further. When Jenny awoke later that morning, the house was still eerily quiet. She stretched and padded downstairs, calling out for her husband. "Dariel, are you here?" No response greeted her. A knot of worry began to form in her stomach as she moved from room to room, finding no sign of Dariel. It wasn't like him to leave without letting her know, especially when she had worked overnight. Jenny's gaze fell on the kitchen window, which looked out onto their backyard. Her heart nearly stopped when she spotted a figure lying motionless on the grass beneath their large oak tree. "Dariel!" she cried, rushing outside. As she drew closer, Jenny could see it was indeed her husband. He lay crumpled at the base of the tree, an overturned ladder nearby. Dariel's eyes were closed, his face pale and drawn with pain. Jenny's nursing instincts kicked in as she knelt beside him, quickly assessing his condition. She breathed a sigh of relief when she saw his chest rising and falling steadily. "Dariel, can you hear me?" she asked, gently tapping his cheek. His eyelids fluttered and a low groan escaped his lips. "Jenny?" he mumbled, confusion evident in his voice. "I'm here, sweetheart. Don't try to move. What happened?" Dariel winced as he attempted to shift position. "I was trimming the tree. Must have lost my balance on the ladder. How long have I been out here?" Jenny glanced at her watch, doing some quick mental calculations. "I'm not sure, but possibly a few hours. I just got home from my night shift and found you here. We need to get you to the hospital." She carefully examined Dariel, noting the awkward angle of his left leg and the swelling around his ankle. "I think you may have broken your leg in the fall. I'm going to call an ambulance, okay?" Dariel nodded weakly, gritting his teeth against the pain. Jenny squeezed his hand reassuringly before hurrying inside to make the call. As she waited for the paramedics to arrive, she gathered a few essentials and called Dariel's parents to let them know what had happened. The next few hours passed in a blur of activity. Jenny rode in the ambulance with Dariel, holding his hand and offering words of encouragement as they made their way to the emergency room. X-rays confirmed her suspicion of a broken leg, and Dariel was prepped for surgery to set the bone. Jenny paced anxiously in the waiting room, her earlier exhaustion forgotten in the face of worry for her husband. She couldn't help but feel a twinge of guilt. If she hadn't been working the night shift, she might have been able to prevent the accident. Finally, the surgeon emerged with news that the operation had been successful. Dariel's leg was now encased in a heavy plaster cast from his toes to his upper thigh. He would need to stay in the hospital for a few days to manage his pain and begin initial physical therapy, but then he could continue his recovery at home. Over the next few days, Jenny divided her time between work and visiting Dariel in the hospital. She rearranged her schedule to take some time off once he was discharged, knowing he would need help adjusting to life with the cast. The day Dariel came home, Jenny had prepared the house as best she could. She'd moved furniture to create clear pathways for his crutches and set up a comfortable area in the living room where he could elevate his leg. "Home sweet home," Jenny said as she helped Dariel through the front door. He hobbled awkwardly on his crutches, still getting used to the mechanics of moving with the bulky cast. "You have no idea how good it feels to be out of that hospital bed," Dariel replied, a mixture of relief and frustration in his voice. Jenny guided him to the recliner she'd prepared, helping him sit and gently lifting his leg onto the ottoman. "How's that? Comfortable?" Dariel nodded, sinking back into the chair with a sigh. "As comfortable as I can be with this thing on my leg. How am I supposed to work like this?" The question hung in the air between them. Dariel was a painter by trade, specializing in both interior and exterior residential projects. His work required mobility and balance, two things that were severely limited by his current condition. Jenny perched on the arm of the chair, running her fingers soothingly through Dariel's hair. "We'll figure something out, sweetheart. For now, you just focus on healing. Your clients will understand." But as the days passed, Jenny could see the toll Dariel's forced inactivity was taking on him. He grew restless and irritable, frustrated by his limited mobility and inability to work. She tried to keep his spirits up, but it was clear that Dariel was struggling with feeling useless. One afternoon, about a week after Dariel had come home, Jenny was helping him change into fresh clothes. As she helped him remove his t-shirt, an idea began to form in her mind. "You know," she said thoughtfully, "there might be a way for you to keep working, even with the cast." Dariel looked at her skeptically. "How? I can barely make it to the bathroom without tripping over myself." Jenny bit her lip, considering how to present her unconventional idea. "Well, what if you wore something that allowed for more freedom of movement around the cast?" "Like what?" Dariel asked, his curiosity piqued. Taking a deep breath, Jenny plunged ahead. "Like a dress." Silence fell between them as Dariel processed her words. His eyebrows shot up in surprise, and for a moment Jenny worried she had offended him. But then, to her relief, a slow smile spread across Dariel's face. "A dress? That's actually not a bad idea. It would certainly be easier to manage than trying to get pants over this monstrosity." Encouraged by his positive reaction, Jenny continued, "Exactly. And it would give you more range of motion for painting. We could find some simple, comfortable dresses that would work well for your job sites." Dariel nodded slowly, warming to the idea. "It's certainly unconventional, but at this point, I'm willing to try anything to get back to work. My clients have been patient, but I can't keep putting off jobs indefinitely." "Great!" Jenny said, her excitement growing. "We can start looking online for some options, and maybe we can practice with some makeup techniques to help you feel more comfortable if you're worried about how others might react." Dariel chuckled, shaking his head in amusement. "I never thought I'd be considering wearing dresses and makeup to work, but desperate times call for desperate measures, right?" Over the next few days, Jenny and Dariel threw themselves into researching and planning. They ordered a selection of simple, practical dresses in neutral colors that would be appropriate for work sites. Jenny also picked up some basic makeup supplies and watched tutorials on creating natural, masculine-leaning looks. As they waited for their online orders to arrive, Jenny helped Dariel practice maneuvering in some of her own dresses. It was awkward at first, but they both found themselves laughing at the absurdity of the situation. "You know," Dariel said as he twirled experimentally in one of Jenny's sundresses, "this is actually kind of liberating. I feel like I can move so much more freely." Jenny grinned, adjusting the dress's hemline. "See? I told you it was a good idea. And just think how much easier it will be to access your cast if you need to scratch an itch or adjust anything." When their orders finally arrived, they spent an evening trying on different options and experimenting with makeup looks. Jenny was impressed by how quickly Dariel took to applying foundation and mascara, his steady hand as a painter translating well to this new skill. "What do you think?" Dariel asked, turning to face Jenny after finishing his makeup. He wore a simple navy blue wrap dress that fell just below his knees, cleverly disguising the bulky cast. Jenny felt a surge of love and admiration for her husband. "You look great, sweetheart. Professional and put together. How do you feel?" Dariel considered for a moment. "Surprisingly comfortable. I mean, it's definitely different, but I think I can make this work." The next hurdle was informing Dariel's clients about the change in his appearance. They decided to approach it matter-of-factly, explaining that due to his injury, Dariel would be wearing dresses to accommodate his cast and allow him to continue working. To their relief, most clients were understanding and even supportive. A few expressed initial surprise, but ultimately they were more concerned with getting their painting projects completed than with what their painter was wearing. Dariel's first day back at work was a mix of nerves and excitement. Jenny helped him get ready, making sure his makeup was flawless and his dress was comfortable and practical for a day of painting. "You've got this," she said, giving him a kiss before he left. "Just focus on your work and remember how talented you are." As the days passed, Dariel found himself growing more comfortable with his new work attire. The dresses allowed him to move more easily around his cast, and he discovered that the fabric was actually quite practical for painting, as it was less likely to snag on things compared to loose pants. His clients, for the most part, were respectful and professional. There were a few raised eyebrows and curious glances, but Dariel's skill as a painter quickly overshadowed any initial surprise at his appearance. One afternoon, about a month into this new arrangement, Dariel returned home with a thoughtful expression on his face. "Everything okay?" Jenny asked as she helped him remove his work boots. Dariel nodded slowly. "Yeah, just thinking. You know, I had the strangest realization today." "Oh?" Jenny prompted, curious. I think I might actually miss wearing dresses when this cast comes off," Dariel admitted, a hint of sheepishness in his voice. Jenny smiled, taking his hand. "Really? That's interesting. Tell me more about that." As they settled onto the couch, Dariel opened up about his experiences over the past month. He talked about the unexpected sense of freedom he felt in dresses, the boost of confidence that came with mastering makeup application, and the way it had challenged his preconceptions about gender expression. "I never thought much about clothing beyond what was practical for work," Dariel mused. "But wearing dresses has made me realize how arbitrary a lot of our ideas about gendered clothing really are. I mean, why shouldn't I wear a dress if it's comfortable and allows me to do my job effectively?" Jenny listened attentively, offering supportive nods and gentle squeezes of his hand. "I'm so glad you found something positive in this experience," she said. "You know I'll support you, no matter what you choose to wear, right?" Dariel pulled her into a tight hug. "I know, and I can't tell you how much that means to me. I'm not sure what I'll decide when the cast comes off, but knowing I have your support makes me feel like I can explore this without judgment." As the weeks went by, and Dariel's leg continued to heal, the couple found themselves having more conversations about gender expression and societal expectations. They researched the history of gendered clothing and discussed the ways in which fashion had evolved over time. Dariel began to experiment with different styles of dresses, branching out from the simple, utilitarian options he had started with. He discovered a love for flowy maxi dresses on hot days and the practicality of shirt dresses for more formal client meetings. Jenny watched with pride as her husband grew more confident and comfortable in his skin. She noticed how his posture had improved, how he carried himself with a new sense of self-assurance that went beyond just his clothing choices. Finally, the day arrived for Dariel's cast to be removed. As they sat in the doctor's office, waiting for the saw to cut through the plaster, Jenny could sense Dariel's mix of excitement and apprehension. "How are you feeling?" she asked, squeezing his hand. Dariel took a deep breath. "Nervous, I guess. It's been so long, and I've gotten used to, well, everything. The cast, the dresses, all of it." The doctor worked efficiently, and soon Dariel's leg was free from its plaster confines. He flexed his foot experimentally, marveling at the sensation of air on his skin after so many weeks. "Now, remember to take it easy at first," the doctor cautioned. "Your muscles will need time to rebuild strength. I'll give you some exercises to do at home, and you'll need to come back for a few physical therapy sessions." As they left the hospital, Dariel leaned on Jenny for support, his legs still weak from disuse. "So," Jenny said as they reached the car, "what's the plan now? Do you want to stop by the house to change before we grab lunch?" Dariel paused, considering. "You know what? I think I'm good like this," he said, smoothing down the front of the simple blue dress he wore. "It feels right somehow." Jenny smiled, a warmth spreading through her chest. "Sounds perfect to me. Let's go celebrate your newfound freedom." Over lunch, they discussed Dariel's plans moving forward. He had decided to continue incorporating dresses into his wardrobe, both for work and in his personal life. "I want to take things slowly," he explained. "Figure out what feels most authentic to me without feeling pressured one way or the other." Jenny nodded, reaching across the table to take his hand. "I think that's a great approach. And remember, there's no rule that says you have to choose one way of dressing exclusively. You can wear whatever makes you feel comfortable and confident on any given day." As they finished their meal and prepared to head home, Dariel looked at Jenny with a mix of love and gratitude. "You know, when I fell off that ladder, I never could have imagined it would lead to something like this. Thank you for being so supportive and open-minded through all of it." Jenny leaned in, pressing a soft kiss to his cheek. "That's what partners are for. I love you, Dariel, no matter what you wear or how you choose to express yourself." Hand in hand, they left the restaurant, stepping out into a world that suddenly seemed full of new possibilities. Dariel's journey of self-discovery, sparked by an unexpected accident, had only just begun. With Jenny by his side, he felt ready to embrace whatever the future might hold, one dress at a time. In the weeks that followed, Dariel continued to explore his newfound freedom of expression. He gradually incorporated a mix of traditional men's clothing and dresses into his wardrobe, choosing each day's outfit based on his mood and the demands of his work schedule. His clients, having grown accustomed to seeing him in dresses during his recovery, hardly batted an eye at his evolving style. In fact, several commented on how Dariel seemed more relaxed and confident than ever before. One sunny afternoon, as Dariel was finishing up a project at Mrs. Henderson's house, the elderly woman approached him with a warm smile. "You know, dear," she said, her eyes twinkling, "I must say I've been quite impressed with how you've handled everything since your accident." Dariel paused in his work, wiping a drop of sweat from his brow. "Thank you, Mrs. Henderson. That means a lot to me." She patted his arm gently. "I remember when my Harold was alive, he always said that clothes don't make the man. It's character that counts. And you, young man, have shown remarkable character through all of this." Dariel felt a lump form in his throat, touched by her words. "I appreciate that more than you know." As he packed up his supplies at the end of the day, Dariel reflected on how far he'd come since that fateful morning when he fell from the ladder. What had initially seemed like a setback had opened up a whole new world of self-expression and personal growth. At home, Jenny was always eager to hear about his day and discuss any new insights or experiences he'd had. Their conversations often stretched late into the night, covering topics they'd never explored before in their relationship. One evening, as they sat on their back porch watching the sunset, Dariel turned to Jenny with a thoughtful expression. "You know," he said, absently playing with the hem of his dress, "I've been thinking a lot about identity lately." Jenny nodded encouragingly. "Oh? In what way?" Dariel took a moment to gather his thoughts. "Well, I've realized that so much of who I thought I was based on these arbitrary rules society had set up. Wearing dresses has made me question a lot of those assumptions." "That's really insightful," Jenny replied. "Has it changed how you see yourself?" Dariel considered the question carefully. "I don't think it's changed who I am at my core. I'm still the same person, with the same values and beliefs. But it's given me permission to express different facets of myself that I didn't even know existed." Jenny reached out and took his hand, giving it a gentle squeeze. "I'm so proud of you for being open to this journey of self-discovery. It takes a lot of courage to challenge societal norms and expectations." Dariel smiled. "I couldn't have done it without your support. You've been my rock through all of this." As the weeks turned into months, Dariel's confidence in his choices continued to grow. He began to experiment with different styles and accessories, finding joy in expressing himself through fashion in ways he'd never considered before. One Saturday morning, as they were getting ready for a day out, Dariel called Jenny into their bedroom with an excited tone in his voice. "What do you think of this?" he asked, twirling to show off a new outfit he'd put together. Jenny's eyes widened in appreciation. Dariel wore a flowing maxi skirt in a rich burgundy color, paired with a crisp white button-down shirt. A leather belt cinched the waist, creating a flattering silhouette. To complete the look, he'd added a pair of stylish ankle boots and some subtle jewelry. "Wow," Jenny breathed, taking in the ensemble. "You look amazing, Dariel. That outfit is so put together and chic." Dariel beamed, clearly pleased with her reaction. "Thanks. I was a bit nervous about mixing more traditional menswear with the skirt, but I really like how it turned out." Jenny stepped closer, adjusting his collar slightly. "It's perfect. You've really developed an eye for fashion, you know that?" As they left the house, hand in hand, Jenny couldn't help but marvel at the transformation her husband had undergone. It wasn't just about the clothes. There was a lightness to Dariel's step, a sparkle in his eye that spoke of newfound self-assurance and joy. Their outing that day took them to a local art fair where Dariel's unique style drew admiring glances and even a few compliments from strangers. Thanks for watching. Check out Patreon if you want to have early access to the other parts. If not, it will be online in a couple of days.